Monica Prescott from City Life Church giving a short Bible study. She's sitting in a library.
Hi there, I'm Monica Prescott from City Life Church in Leduc, and welcome to Devoted. You know, if you have one of these, if you've got a smartphone and you listen to music, you probably have a playlist on it. And I think a playlist can tell a lot about a people. On my phone, I've got my painting playlist because I like to paint and do artwork. I've got a worship playlist when I just want to have some, good quiet time with Jesus. I've got a childhood playlist when I kind of want to be a bit nostalgic and reminisce. I've got a whatever playlist when I just kind of want to chill and have some fun. And my favorite is what's called Samara is the Coolest Swag list. That's for my 16-year-old daughter because she doesn't like my music. And you know what? Your soul has a playlist. And it's what influences your internal world, and that actually ends up influencing your external world. And so I guess the question I'd ask you today is, what's playing on the stereo of your soul? And I'm not talking about the music you listen to, but I'm talking about the thoughts and the beliefs and the things that you let run over and over in your mind, because those influence your whole life. And just to share a bit of my own personal story, when I was a lot younger, I really struggled with depression and was very fearful and very insecure. And what I came to realize is that I had a playlist playing in my mind that fed this kind of thing in me. And I was very much the type of person that leaned towards the worst case scenario. And, always thinking, what's something bad that could happen? And what's the worst that could happen? And thinking the worst of people. I was always feeding on fear and things that were allowing myself to be anxious and worrisome. And eventually that played out in my life with depression and with more worry and with insecurity and anxiety. I needed a new playlist. And you know what? In the Bible, in Philippians 4:8, Paul gives us a playlist for our soul. And we're going to look at that today. And it's a playlist that will produce a theme of life, a theme of joy, a theme of peace, a theme of contentment in our life. And so let's look at this for a minute. I'm going to read Philippians 4:8 in the New Living Translation. It says, "And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable, on what is right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about the things that are excellent and worthy of praise." Now let's look at this a little bit more and break it down a bit. When he says, fix your thoughts, you know why he says fix them? Because I don't know if you're like me, but my thoughts tend to wander. And a lot of times we got all these things that are playing in our mind and they're vying for our attention. And other versions of the Bible read, focus your thoughts or fill your mind with these things. Don't ever stop thinking about it. Those are pretty intense words. So we have the responsibility to put our mind on the right kinds of things, not on the random thoughts that pop up in our mind all throughout our day. God gives us a responsibility over our thought life. Being responsible means that we are response-able. In other words, we're able to respond. And we don't have to be led by our feelings and emotions. And I might not be able to control everything that's going on around me, but I can control what's going on inside me and inside my thoughts. And sometimes our thought life gets bombarded with all sorts of different things. Maybe circumstances or a job loss has got you really worked up and is bombarding your mind with all sorts of thoughts of worry. Or maybe you live and work in a very negative environment and you're wondering, how can I ever be positive? How can I ever be faith-filled? And that's why we're instructed to fix or focus our thoughts on this list of things or these qualities that Paul goes on to talk about, which are, he says, fix your thoughts on what is true. In other words, what's reliable. Not what feelings or emotions might be telling you, because feelings and emotions, they're good, but they are not reliable. A lot of times they're not even true, and a lot of times what I'm feeling inside is actually just a physiological response to a chemical reaction that's going on in my body. And so I can't rely on what my feelings and emotions would tell me. If I wake up feeling miserable and I fix my thoughts on how miserable I'm feeling, by the end of the day, I am a cranky mess. But on the other hand, if I wake up and I might be feeling not so great, but if I fix my thoughts on what is true, today is the day that God has made. It is a good day. God's got great things planned. You know what? The day turns out totally different. Paul goes on to say, fix your thoughts on what is honorable, or in other words, what's worthy of respect. And an example of this could be maybe you have someone at work that really drives you nuts. Now, if you fix your thoughts on everything about them that drives you nuts, you know what? They are going to drive you nuts and you're going to get all worked up. But instead, you could focus on the reasons, on what is honorable, about what you could respect about them. And you know what? What's respectable in a person is the fact that they are a person created in God's image. There's someone that God loves. And if I focus on that, that will bring a completely different perspective, a completely different attitude in my mind towards that person. Fix your thoughts on what is right. In other words, not everything that's wrong. Not everything that's going wrong with the day, not everything that's going wrong with the finances, in your marriage, or with the kids. But fix your thoughts on what is right. What's right between you and God? What's right in the world? It's easy to focus on what's wrong when we live in a world that bombards us with negative things in media. Focus on what's right. Focus on what's pure, what's wholesome, thoughts that are morally pure. Just because you have a bad thought that goes around in your mind doesn't mean you are a bad person. And those thoughts will come in from all sorts of things, and we can choose to focus on what is pure, what is right, what is lovely and admirable. And that word lovely, it means something that promotes peace instead of what causes conflict. And admirable refers to what's positive and constructive rather than what's critical. Focus your thoughts on things that are excellent. In other words, things that are good, the goodness in life. Focusing our thoughts on what's really awesome, what is beautiful, this is a good thing that God's doing. This is a good thing that could take place. And this last one is my favorite. What is worthy of praise? Man, certain environments, you might be in a place where you're a boss or you're a manager, or in a place, of responsibility, where a lot of times you get the worst news. You get the bad news, and this is going wrong, and we got to fix this, and we got to fix this. And you know what? We can choose to focus on the good report. That's what that means. What's worthy of praise? What can we focus on that is the best and not the worst? So again, think on. Focus on. Don't ever stop thinking about these things. And you know what? If you're struggling in any area of your life, whether it's your marriage, or maybe it is your finances, or maybe it's a health issue or maybe you're just overwhelmed in life, or you are struggling with depression and anxiety, I really want to encourage you. Take Philippians 4:8. Maybe you want to write it down on a card, stick it on your mirror, or somewhere where you can see it regularly, and make that the playlist for your soul. Put it on repeat and watch how things will change in your world.
Music plays as Light Burst transitions to Devoted.